Hi guys, your friendly Captain Obet here. We're on the ground in Taipei. We just arrived from Tokyo. Quick flight, a little bit shorter than the last time I did it, but it was 3 hours. Anyway, we're on the ground here, and what I wanted to talk to you about today is to do with the preparation that the pilot does before they get to the airplane, and what they do when they get to the airplane and so on, to get an airplane ready and to basically operate safely. The first thing, of course, is all of us have to leave home in a good mental state. We've got to be emotionally ready to operate the flight, and we've got to be physically and mentally, essentially, ready. I'm sure most of you saw how important family and relations are. If you watch the Olympics, I'm sure you saw scenes of winners and losers, and those who were performing, the athletes, always looking on the screen, and back home, wherever they came from, there was a whole contingent of family and people looking out to make sure that they were cheering on the person. So having left home in a happy and mentally fit state, you get to the dispatch and you're going to meet other crew members, and you're going to talk with them, and you're going to discuss what the flight is about, but you're going to greet each other and you're going to be personable with each other. There's no airs and graces. You're all professionals. Nobody actually leaves home to do a bad job. So nobody is more important than the other. The captain, first officer, if there's cabin crew, load masters, anybody, you're all important and you're working together. So that's the first step. Come to work in an emotionally stable state and physically fit as well. Then the next thing is the company, whatever company you work for, the corporation, assumes that when you get on board the airplane, you have retained all the knowledge that you gained when you did the technical aspect of the airplane or the conversion course. They assume that you have retained this knowledge, and you should have retained this knowledge, so that when you come on the airplane, you prepare the aircraft to make sure that everything is where it should be, and you put all the switches correctly where they should be. Everything in the airplane is about cross-checking. So if I'm the pilot flying, I'll set the entire airplane up based on the knowledge that I already have when I did the technical course for the Boeing 747, for example. Having finished that, when I'm complete, the second pilot, the first officer in this case, would do exactly what I've done, cross-check everything. It's about checking everything to make sure all the switches and the state of the cockpit is exactly where it should be. Once we've done that, then we've normally got a normal checklist. So I'll come up here and I'll have a look and show you a normal checklist. So we come up here and we've got a normal menu, resets, and non-normal menu. So after that, we do a normal checklist. So we're going to do this in a minute, the normal checklist. If, for example, I've forgotten to do an oxygen test, then the checklist is there to make sure that I haven't forgotten it. So first of all, I come here with my knowledge, I set everything up, make sure I do the oxygen test before I even do the checklist. But let's say I forget it, when I come up to the checklist, that's designed to pick me up, to make sure that I haven't forgotten anything like that. As we go along then, we continue with the normal checklist. If something else goes wrong and the normal checklist missed something, and perhaps something doesn't operate the way it should operate, then we've got what we call a quick reference handbook. There it is, there's 747-8 quick reference handbook. There's one on either side of each pilot's seat, and this is mine here. I've pulled it out of the holder that it sits in there. And in the normal checklist, we have all the emergency actions, or non-normal actions as they're called nowadays, and it represents all the systems on board the airplane. So for example, there we've got miscellaneous airplane information, general, emergency equipment, air systems, anti-ice and rain, automatic, flight, communications, electrical, engines, APU, fire protection, flight controls, flight instruments, flight management system, fuel, hydraulics, landing gear, warning systems. So all these things are contained in what we call the QRH. If something goes wrong, then, having dispatched correctly, having checked everything, having had everything that I did cross-check, and we missed it in the normal checklist, the QRH is designed to let us fix the situation and get the airplane safe again. If we can't do anything, having used the QRH and we exhaust everything that's in this book, then what the next section tells us basically is that, look, you've done everything. It just means that you now have to stop. If we're airborne, it probably means we have to land the airplane and get out. So the QRH is designed such that in an emergency, once we land and we need to get out, I turn the QRH at the back. At the back is the evacuation checklist. So I lift it out of there in an evacuation, and I just do that and read it off there and just say evacuation and read all the actions on the evacuation checklist. That's the basic philosophy. Mentally fit, stable, get on the aeroplane, use your technical knowledge as you were trained to do. If you miss anything, the normal checklist will pick you up. If the normal checklist doesn't pick you up, the non-normal checklist items in the QRH will pick you up. If that doesn't work and you've exhausted everything you could possibly do in here, it just means you can't continue to operate safely. You must get out. If it's a severe emergency, you evacuate. That's the last thing, the QRH. There you have it. Later.